Hey there, and welcome to U Talk. We highlight stories from across Canada, the diverse cultures and communities living here, and individuals and organizations that help make life the best it can be. I'm your host, Ryan Funk. Lisa Muswagon is a Nakoda Cree member from Cross Lake in Northern Manitoba. She was raised in the North, the Interlake Region and Winnipeg, and went back to her home community to complete high school. At a young age, she received a gift of the hand drum from her father, and has been performing ever since. Hellnback, also known as Karmen, is from the Samson Cree Nation in Alberta, a veteran in the native hip-hop industry. Karmen has come a long way. Hellnback first gained international recognition as a founding member of the groundbreaking group War Party. I had the opportunity to chat with both Lisa and Karmen about music, culture, and Karmen's kidney journey.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Karmen Omeasoo. People know me as Hellnback from Samson Cree Nation out of Hobbema, Alberta, Maskwacis, Alberta. And I've been a chronic kidney patient since July 11th, 2019. And a hip hop artist for the past, 3 decades. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And my name is Lisa Muswagon, and I am a member of the Pimicikamak Cree Nation, also known as Cross Lake in Northern Manitoba. I've been raised in Winnipeg, the Interlake in Northern Manitoba, and I've been an artist a performer for since my early teens. And I started becoming like full artist, I guess, in 2017. I decided to take the leap. And I've just been, right now, I'm just trying to get through the pandemic.
As are we all. As are we all. So Karmen, what brought you to Manitoba?
You're talking to her. Honestly, I've been in Manitoba 19 years, and the reason that I came here was my wife. She was my girlfriend at the time, but we took the leap, and I was
Okay, let me restart the story. My husband was actually, no, just kidding. Okay, so my husband was in a group called War Party, and he came to the city to do a performance through APTN. And at the time, one of my friends worked there and needed some audience to come in and
some seat fillers.
Yeah, seat fillers. But I went in and seen this group performing, and I was like, wow, that's that guy I seen on TV when I used to live in my home community in my teens, graduating high school. Yeah.
and I seen her when I was doing the show. It was like when she walked in, I don't want to be cheesy, but when she walked in, everything just kind of blurred out. I just focused on her the whole time. And this is at a time when CDs were the biggest thing ever. Everybody loves CDs. So we had a bunch of CDs, and I kept throwing them her way. I was trying to get her attention through the whole set. And they were just smashing around her feet. And people diving.
People were grabbing.
People diving and grabbing them and all sorts of stuff. And she didn't even notice. And I was like, okay. But so then I seen her walking around after the set, and I just, it was the most nerve-wracking thing ever. But I went and talked to her. The rest is history. We took our...
I definitely understand that experience when you meet someone and you're just like, oh boy, all the feelings coming up.
Yeah, she still gives me those feelings every day.
Oh, that's great. That's what you want in a relationship. You want to have those kind of butterflies in your stomach at all times.
Yeah, he's still very sweet too.
What made both of you want to go into music?
Well, in my case, I was always a performer, and I wanted to expand more, but I noticed that there were other avenues to take, and that was to become take the leap, I guess, and be an artist. And so that was to open myself more. Like I consider myself a contemporary hand drum singer. I'm not a traditional hand drum singer. And I guess the difference with that is that there's like traditional drumming with traditional songs. And as for me, in my case, I'm also a songwriter. I found that I had talent in writing. I had talent in making music. I had talent in hearing songs and just manipulating sound and just trying different things, working with different people in my earlier time. And then in 2017, I went through a really deep grief process. My cousin passed away from kidney failure, and so it was really hard on me because I grew up with her, and we grew up very closely when I lived back home in my community. And so to have a loss like that was tremendous for me. And so at the same time, I decided to go back to university to get my business degree. So I went in with feeling grief. And so as I guess I was processing grief, I had a creative outlet at the same time, and all of a sudden I just had a flow of songs and melodies I wanted to try, and then I just started having a story and planning, and I kept telling my husband, who was always cheering me on for years and years on end, to do it. But finally, I knew the time would come when I'd be ready, and so I just did it, and I made my album in 2017, and it earned 2 nominations like that year. And so it really inspired me to do more in music, where now I contribute my sound and my style of song and music to like more outlets like hip hop. I recently contributed, I recently was part of a project with the Splice app with this one of our friends. His name is PJ Vegas. He's actually what's his dad's name? The son
Redbone.
the son of Redbone. And so he approached and had this project going, and so I contributed my sound to it, and it was the Native State of Mind sound pack. And so that was put on the Splice app, and that's available for beats and producers all over the world.
She's being modest. It's the first of its kind. It's the first of its kind beat pack.
Yeah.
And it's available for every producer in the world. And it's right now, I think it's sitting at number 6 on the downloaded beat packs on Splice.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
It's really crazy. And Redbone, I mean, obviously, you know, come and get your love. But that's who PJ Vegas's father is. So
the singer,
yeah,
Patrick
so
Vegas.
like
yeah.
it's deep rooted in music, and the guys who did it, it comes from Los Angeles, you know. So for her to be a part of that is just like, to me, it's still mind blowing. It's fucking crazy.
You know? Yeah, so it's exploring. So I think I'm the only one from Canada too. Mm-hmm. So there was 5 of us artists that contributed, and I think I'm the one from Winnipeg, Manitoba. And I think in Canada I'm pretty then the other one's in Alberta. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, well, like even being like one of 2 people from Canada being like represented in there, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I take risks too. I took a risk, right? Because there's other categories of music like powwow, round dance, hand games, stuff like that. But mine, and then there's like all different types of drumming. But because of my upbringing and ceremony and traditional way and the stuff I was, I guess, exposed to, help create that found that creative foundation for me to learn how to dissect music and sound and use my own sounds. And so the only thing is that I'm on a language journey, so I'm learning how to use language in my songs.
Oh, that's so cool. That's such an amazing journey. And yeah, I know the way you're describing how you've learned about your music. That's kind of how I talked with Marco Castillo, a local Brazilian musician here. And he was saying, you can't be a great musician unless you know how to listen.
Yeah, yeah. So I was really young when I heard songs, and then I used to try to sing with the males. So in powwow, you'll notice that the males sit at the drum, and there's like rules in our culture that women aren't allowed to sing with it. There's all sorts of things that go on, but I remember being a young woman singing with a bunch of men, and we were singing at a powwow, and it was a men's dance category, and we were all up to sing. We were singing our heart out the best that we could, but the men didn't want to dance because there was two women at the drum. And so like I wasn't going to let that defeat me there because I knew I was talented. And so what my dad did was I sort of let it discourage me, but I had that determination that I was going to overcome that. And then so my dad made me a hand drum and gave it to me for Christmas. Yeah. When I was like 13 years old. And at that time, you want a Walkman, you want a VCR. And then so I didn't get that. I got a drum. So it kind of forced me to, well, what am I going to do with this? And then so I just started hitting it and learning how to do sound. And my dad was also a musician. He was a drummer. He played for a band in when he was younger. So there was that inspiration of music that we were exposed to. I grew up around oldies, the Eagles, the Beatles, everybody. So my dad always kept in tune with like the drum and wanted me to play. So the drum was kind of implanted in my upbringing. And then
it was kind of like an element of your being.
And then my grandmother was the one who would, how do you say that, validate my feelings by saying like, the drum comes from the woman, and would explain the ceremony teaching and the story that came with it. And so again, it just validated what I wanted to do, because I've had men approach me telling me that I wasn't able to do what I'm doing, right? And then so sometimes some people argue that it's colonization and that all these rules came, and that, so it gets really complicated as you explore more. But I was like, you know what? I just want to make music. I have the sound. This is what's in my head. This is what my DNA is saying. These are what the ancestors are telling me. This is my spiritual being, and this is who I am. And if you don't like it, you don't have to listen to it.
So is it sort of like a taboo for women in your culture to play the drums?
Yeah, it's a taboo in some tribes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a taboo in some tribes for women to sing at the drum. Yeah.
Interesting. Like, is there like a cultural reason for that, or like a historical reason?
Well, there's lots of stories like there's cultural stories that have to do with like being a woman and the power that you have, and that there's also another story that the drum was a gift from the past, right, from another being, and so it came to the people through ceremony, right? There's another story like that, and it was for the men, to for their cleansing, for their spirit, just like a sweat lodge. There's like all sorts of different stories. There's another story, but what I was told was that the drum just represented Mother Earth, and that the sound that it made was the sound of what my baby heard in my stomach. And when you put the drum to your face and talk, and you hear the echoing, that's what your baby hears when they hear the mother talk, right? And while they're in your stomach, and then so belly, I should say. and so there's that unity of Mother Earth, right? Because the tree of life, the frame of the drum is wood. So there's that teaching into it. And Mother Earth, it's the way it's shaped, and also like Father Sky, and we wouldn't have these elements without those to without the unity of those two, which is like, nature and water, because we can't live without water. So there's a lot of teachings that go in it. And like I said, I'm just telling you like 30 seconds of like all the years that I've been learning, right? So I've heard many stories, but the one where my grandmother validated it was that it came to our people, and it was the women that would pick it up again, and we would teach our sons, and our sons kind of like the seventh generation aspect to the loss of our culture. And so I felt that was very important for me, being the woman and learning these elements. And I have a son, and so now he wants to powwow dance, so his time is ready. He wants to learn about music, and I have all this knowledge that I can tell him. So
yeah, and you would have never been able to achieve the success and accomplishments if you didn't pursue that.
Yeah, if I didn't take the risks and challenges that were brought to me, because there was a lot.
How about you, Karmen? What kind of got you on the path of music and kind of pursuing that hip hop and rap?
Man, honestly, for me, I started at a young age. Like I've been into music since I was 10 years old. I remember writing raps and freestyling, and I thought it was the coolest thing. Before that, like my mom remembers when I was like in grade 3 or something, that I was musically inclined. There was a music teacher that said that I could play instruments and not even know what they were, type thing, and that I wrote poetry and stuff, and like roses are red, violets are blue type thing from my mom. But as time went on, music for me was more like a release. Like I was bullied a lot, like I was a big kid growing up, so I had confidence issues. But what made me really fall in love with the music aspect was that, like, I used to listen to a lot of heavy metal. I used to be a skater, trying to be a skater. And my brother introduced me to hip hop. He introduced me to the Fat Boys, and he introduced me to KRS-One, and then Dougie Fresh, and all the like original Grandmaster Flash and Furious 5. Like I grew up with an older brother that was really into hip hop, and if it wasn't for him, like I even documented in songs. Like if it wasn't for my brother, I wouldn't have never met hip hop, because I was on a different vibe at the time. But when I found hip hop, it was just so, like, it just reached to me. Like I don't even.
Yeah, it's kind of has that visceral kind of emotional, like you're just kind of pouring out your soul and experiences in it.
And I'm not gonna lie too. With heavy metal and all that stuff, it's like. Oh man, how can I say, with heavy metal, you gotta learn instruments. You gotta be know guitars and stuff like that. And for me, I just didn't. I wanted to do something, but at the same time, I was a kid. I was lazy.
Yeah.
I did try guitar lessons when I was a kid, but they said my fingers are too chubby. Real talk. I just started rapping, and my brother showed me rapping, and then I started rapping because I wanted to be like him. Like my brother was all into breakdancing, doing windmills, all sorts of shit. He was really athletic. And I always wanted to be like my brother because I grew up with no father. My brother was my father and my brother at the same time. Like he was like the main reason I did a lot of things in my life, because he showed interest, and he showed interest in what, like, positive, like, yeah, you're pretty good, So I took that into school. And I was like, at the time I was a big kid. And I remember I went to my first rap name was Kool-Aid the Chubby Cree. Kool-Aid as in like the Kool-Aid man.
Yeah.
And the Chubby Cree as in the Chubby Cree. But the reason I named, like I got named Kool-Aid back in school because I wore this big red t-shirt. Now I was like over 300 pounds in school. So I wore this nice red Ralph Lauren t-shirt. Next thing you know, I heard, "Hey, Kool-Aid." And it was really disrespectful at first, but after a while, like I just kind of started brushing it off and getting more into music. And so freestyling and stuff became like my defense mechanism.
It was dirty.
Yeah. Oh, it was my defense mechanism. So when when I was when I would go to school, people that were like being disrespectful to me in a sense, like I would rap about it, and then it went from hey Kool-Aid to what up Kool-Aid, hey, what up dog, how you doing man, like my confidence that I grew with hip hop kind of turned people's thought process on me. Like if they call me chubby or fat, yeah, my name is the Chubby Cree. Like I turned whatever kind of diss they had against me. But I also was a study of the arts. So I was like lyrically on point, like you called yourself a rapper. I didn't care who you were, where we were standing, what we were doing. If it was on a bus stop or something, if you called yourself a rapper, I battled you. And that led to me meeting War Party. War Party was my first group. And from then on, we just toured and did everything, and by the time I was becoming an adult, we were just getting our like first record deals and, and getting on Much Music and all sorts of kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So it started excelling really fast once we started breaking the market, because we had to break the market. We had to make the market. There was no native rappers before us. And the people that were native rappers before us were like in the States or something like that. And this was before the internet. So, you had to really know what you were doing.
Yeah, a lot of challenges.
And just to verify a little bit of that, like where I come from, when I was in Cross Lake, in my community, I was finishing up high school. So I'm like 17, 18. And then we would have we had the satellite channels. So our TV station had to like play, like they would go record the stuff and then play it. And then so some of our Much Music videos that we would see were constant repeats, right, for hours on end. And then so that's how we were introduced to War Party, because thank God that person recorded music that day.
Yeah. Like when we started making videos, this is where like the hustle really got intense, because we obviously put every bit of money that we ever made to back into it, and the hustle got so giant that like our first video, I think the budget was roughly $35,000, and we filmed it on the reservation. We had these people coming out and filming on the reservation. And that started the grind. That was Video Fact Grant, actually. And we were the first natives to ever get on Much Music with a Video Fact Grant for hip hop. The work that we did back then paved the way and made the market, like I said. Like if we had to be, we're from Hobart, Alberta. If we had to be in Winnipeg, there was no flights. No one was buying rappers' flights. We had to drive there, When we first made our first record that got signed to EMI Canada, I remember driving to Winnipeg with no insurance with all of us, because we had to get there to record. And we stayed in the studio. We stayed at the studio and we just recorded, and then we went back home. That was way before that was way before I ever met Lisa, but that was the first time I ever went to Winnipeg. All I remember about that time was the studio and pizza.
Well, I have an experience about the studio as to why I became an artist later. Was that same studio he's talking about. There used to be this rapper named Taco, and he was here in the city, and he wanted to record some, native lyrics, our native sound in his music back in the day. And then so we went there, and then I remember just all of a sudden my dad got really upset and was like, no, you're not allowed to do it, because there was like no deal or anything. I didn't sign any. I don't know what the big deal was, but I guess as you get older, you're like, yeah, I guess my dad was just trying to look out.
And I remember talking to you. Like when I first came to Winnipeg, he was at the same studio. And this is funny because we battled each other. Like I told you, I didn't give a shit. If you were a rapper, you were a target. Like for me, that's what it was. I remember I got into a lot of like heated battles with people, and they were like trying to threaten us because I would beat them, and they would like threaten us and stuff. But that was just the come up, That's for me, hip hop was like the perfect thing, because I can be a beast on stage and I can be a beast on this and that. And a lot of people would be like to me, like, you're so different on stage when instead of like how I'm talking to you now. You know, like when you're on stage, you're just like, holy, like I can't believe it. But when you're talking, you're just so like humble. Like you don't seem anything like your stage.
Yeah, the persona is so
and
different.
I wanted it to be like that. I wanted it to be like that since I came up, because honestly, that stage is like therapy. You know, like you can go out there and be somebody that you always wanted to be lyrically, and get out there and just prove yourself to people, you know, but you don't have to carry that off the stage. You know, you don't have to be overly confident in people's face and make them feel like shit all the time. You know, you leave that for battles. That's for battles and stuff. So yeah, man, like that's what really got me into hip hop, was just, for me, it was life in general. You know, coming from the reservation, we wanted to prove to people that it can happen. We turned our hobby into a lifestyle, and we turned that lifestyle into a movement, and we turned that movement in general into like full circle, because a lot of these rappers nowadays, they look at me, you know, as like a vet, like, as you guys were the first ones to do, you guys are this and that, and I'm only,
yeah, you paved the way.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm only I keep telling them, talk about me like I'm super mega old or something. I'm still not making music. You know, like I still just, I've been dropping music, you know, like I've always had a song that was playing in every genre, or every aspect of rap music, from like the gangster rap to this and that. I always had music. Like I grew up with it. So, you know, like that's what really got me into it, because we just wanted to make something from nothing and prove to the natives out here in the country that you can be successful if you have enough drive. You know, it wasn't just wanting to be the man. I wanted to prove to people that us natives are not just what you see in the news, what you hear in this. We scout people, we're drunks, we're this and that, because back in the day in the media, that's all you heard about with natives. And when you don't have no idea how many times I've done shows with people, major artists, and they're freaking out like, you guys are still alive? You guys ain't living in teepees? You guys are living in igloos? Like this is real talk. These are real art. Like I've opened up for Wu-Tang. You know, I opened up for Ice, like Mac 10 and West Side Gang. Like, all these people, and that's the same thing. Their perspective on natives was, I can't believe you're still here. So that alone drove us to want to talk more about our culture and get it out there to people, because that's where we're from. You know, we wanted people to understand our struggles on tape. We wanted to be able to paint those soundscapes for the people that don't know how to read or stuff like that. You know, we wanted to be able to paint something visually that you can relate to. And, you know, we put our whole life in that music. And I've done it ever since. So
yeah, fighting those misconceptions and racist depictions of First Nations people.
Yeah, it's stereotypes, like, you know? The stereotypes.
Yeah, that the media has created First Nations kind of as a monolith, that all these different cultures and peoples are all the same, and kind of like, oh, they're living in the past. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly, you know? And so we just wanted to just come out and just represent for our people and be those, not spokespersons, but the harder we work, that's what it ended up kind of being, you know, because we were like the representatives. So nowadays you hear all these new rappers and all these new native rappers and everybody coming. That's so refreshing to me, because at one point there was a time when you'd have every native rapper in the country in one room. You know what I'm saying? But now they're so widespread. It's awesome.
And how did they end up in one room?
Well, I'm just saying.
No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, it's super cool to hear about that, and yeah, it's great to hear that Native cultures and individuals, they have the opportunity to come out and showcase their culture and their music and kind of their personal sound.
Yeah,
you're showcasing it for people outside of Native communities, but you know, for people who are not a member of the nations, how can we better understand your and other First Nations people's culture, history, and experiences? I mean, music seems to be one of those great avenues.
I think when people like who are newcomers to this town and then they hear like all this content and they're like just randomly checking out hip hop artists and then they come across a native artist and then they hear all this hard content about like, you know, the past and blah and this and that, and all of a sudden some way, hey, you know, like I'm pretty sure that can be a little bit like not much, but like intriguing to be like, whoa, what is all this? You know, this is a lot of like ear candy. But I mean, like, I guess to describe that person who's just like, you know, not only a newcomer, but people who are just opening their mind to different sound, because that's what this is opening your mind to different sound. Like, for example, just yesterday I got a call. If you order mucklucks from Manitoba Mucklucks, but if you order a pair of Manitoba Mucklucks and you're put on hold, you'll hear my music. Right. And so because of things like that, I had a woman from Washington contact me and tell me that, turn that low. She contacted me and she was like, you know, non-native, and she clearly said, you know, I'm a white woman. she said, but when I was ordering mukluk, she said, and I heard your music, I just couldn't get it out of my head. As a matter of fact, I keep calling to find out, right? But she wasn't like, I guess, oriented to find out, like she's a bit older, so she doesn't know how to navigate around the technology, like downloading from Apple and stuff like that. And so she actually reached out to me. And she's coming from like old age music. Like she's like, I listen to pianist Elvis Presley, you know, all this stuff she's naming. And she's like, but when I heard you, it was all like, it felt like it was like so full of heart and soul. And then so she said, and it really uplifted and it healed me. And and I'm not the kind of person to reach out, but it wanted me to reach out to you to tell you, you know, thank you for that. And then so I guess what I'm trying to say is that Indigenous people, when they're singing this type of music, it's all about heart and soul, just as much as an artist puts it into their guitar, as much as they put it into whatever instrument that they play, right? Because the music that comes from us is already embedded in our DNA. It comes from our ancestors, right? We're just tuning into ourselves and using these sounds with who we are today. And so I know there's some people that are against, you know, mixing Indigenous music into like modern mainstream, like hip hop. You know, you might have some people that might not like what we're doing because they have their traditions too and their teachings and whatnot, right? But at the same time, it's like, how are we going to teach a new generation about sound if we're not going to, you know, find a new way to do things, right? Like if I can, if me and him can make music together and then another person just, wow, what's that sound, you know? And then they're sitting in some community not knowing who their culture is, then that's the spark. That's the spark for someone to find out their identity, because the content in the music describes what happened. And so to anyone listening to music, when it comes to Native music, and you hear a lot of history, the first thing you should do is learn about our history. Take the time to and it's all available on Google. Look at the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Look at the history of residential school, because the colonization processes happened all over the world, right? But look at how it happened in our country, because like today we're still fighting for clean water. You know, we're still fighting for murdered and missing women. You know, we're still fighting. You know, we just had we're having emergency. What do you call that? We're having state of emergencies in northern communities due to high suicide rates. You know, so so these are the important messages of what's going on in our community. So we find a way to put it in songs to understand that this is what's really going on. You know, we're all not just a bunch of natives that wear feathers and, you know, go dance at a powwow. You know, we have many different faces, many different backgrounds, you know, and it's just all about how we learn about who we are, because we've had our culture almost wiped out, right? You had the residential school, you had the 60s scoop, right? And you've had all these traumatic events that happened to our people. So it's our generation, like Karmen and I, and the ones after, who are the ones who will pick it up again. So if we can come together and create that spark and generate that, you know, spark or that interest, then, you know, it means that we've done our part, you know, to help young people start that healing process, so to speak, right? Because maybe keep in mind and learn empathy and compassion about, you know, the people on the street, because they've had such a hard life and background. You know, there's so much toxicity and dysfunction that as a result of these systems, right? And then people say, oh, you guys get over it. Well, we can't, because we live it daily. You know, my dad was in residential school. You know, my mom went to day school. I went to day school, but at the time it was just ending. So there was no abuse. I just have memory of a nun being my teacher. Yeah, so things like that, right? It's still very new, and I'm not that old. So
yeah, it's still a fresh wound.
Yes.
It's still a fresh wound in many people's hearts.
Even us too, as a family, who we are, people are like, oh, you guys are so cool, you know, like you guys are the ones that we want to be like. We want, you know, like that. We aspire to be a couple like you. Well, if you want to be a couple like us, then do the healing, do your work, and let's break those old cycles of those traumas from, you know, those processes that were implemented towards our people.
Are you finding newer generations of people more receptive to Native culture?
Oh yeah, like we got platforms like TikTok. We got younger people coming up. You know, they're jumping on these platforms ready to educate, right? And so, you know, it's how do I say that? Like I give a lot of I feel very grateful, and I have a lot of gratitude for those people that actually stand up and do that on those platforms, because it takes a lot. You got to break from your self-confidence. And not only that, some don't even have the resources like high-speed internet. You know, there's thousands and thousands of Native people out there, only some of us haven't found internet yet, high-speed internet, you know, so they're coming still, they're going to be coming. And so we just have to continue to trailblaze and make way for our upcoming generation, because they're loud.
Hopefully, as you know, more people are able to share their voice and their culture, and you know, people the public works towards getting legislation and things so everyone can have access to like technology and systems, we'll start, you know, seeing more of this culture.
I think so, because like, for example, we got people like, I'll take my community, for example. We don't have high speed internet. We're still in the process of, you know, accessing the high speed internet, the proper technology that you need to run that up there. But like, there's people up there that are doing land-based teachings. There's young people out there that know how to cut fish. You know, they still know their traditions and culture, only they just don't have the resources to share that, right? But they're coming out there. Like, we're starting to see them when they do have access. Internet's starting to go further and further. We also have another opportunity to teach music to a group of kids in Yukon, you know, so there's changes that are going on. And regardless, like, even though there's COVID and stuff, people are finding ways. It's just, being adaptable to the new changes.
And there's so much we can learn from like native cultures going green. Native cultures have been talking about that for centuries. Like, why is it taking everyone else so long to catch up?
Yeah, like, well, even people are talking about these magical keto diets where you don't eat or diets where you don't eat starches and carbs. I think that was our diet pre-contact. And they're selling them for high amounts of dollars. And so it's funny to see sometimes.
Yeah.
You've been really open about your medical journey with your kidneys. Why did you feel it was important to be transparent and open about it?
When we first found out, I was in denial. It was oddly scary, but yet I didn't believe it. And I kind of went into a little funk for like the first week, and me and Lisa sat down and we were like, do we want to be quiet and suffer in quietness, or do we want to tell people about it? You have fans, you have family, you have people that look up to you.
And I have my background, there's people and there's family members in my family that are diabetic and who are already have kidney failure and on dialysis. And like I said, I lost my cousin to kidney failure, so I already had a background in it. And that was an important discussion we had to have, was, do we want to be truthful, or do we want to, I said, because people are going to know that you're going to be sick as time goes on. Like, we had to think of the long run. We had to think of the short run. There's all sorts of things. And so it was a really harsh reality at first.
Dialysis is scary. Back in Winkler, I was talking to an individual a while back, and he was just showing how they had to like repurpose his veins so that you could get the flow. It was just kind of mind-blowing, and how long he's been waiting for a kidney transplant.
It's definitely different, because like I had, like, not every day is the same. Not every kidney patient is going through the same thing, and that's something that I had to learn, because like my father, he passed away from liver and kidney failure, and I didn't even understand it back then. I had no clue. All I know is that me and my dad had a choppy relationship. When his kidneys are starting to fail, he tried to ask me for one when I was younger. So I never really had my dad. So for him to ask me that at the time was kind of crazy. But when we decided to be more transparent, it was just, we wanted to educate people more about this. I wanted to bring more, it's like something just triggered in me that I wanted to let people know that it's not a death sentence when you have kidney disease. I wanted people to know that it's not to be scared. And if you want to know more about it, then let my journey educate you. Let our journey educate you.
And then me as a caregiver too, and then us having kids, we're like, this is a bit too big to hide, because we were very public people. And then so we're like, okay, well, we'll just be real with it, even when the raw happens, let's be real and share what we know. And we even want to do a podcast. So if there's anyone out there that wants to donate or help us get started or teach us some ropes, we want to do that too. So I think as the patient, we wanted to share his journey. And also he's an O negative. And so an O negative meant that he had a rare blood type. And so that was another issue in the journey, is that when you're an O negative blood type, the wait list is a lot longer.
Yeah, I was gonna touch on that. I was gonna let you know about that. Is that like my blood type makes my journey half more time than the regular blood type. Like regular blood type is 4 to 5. My blood type is 8 to 10. So we were in this for the long haul. And when I first started my journey, I opted out for PD dialysis, which is parenteral dialysis. And that's like like it's like an oil change, manual oil change every four times a day.
And with peritoneal dialysis, he had a catheter inserted in his abdomen.
Yeah. And then when you put the bag and it drains into your abdomen, and then the stuff like it drains out, and you do that 4 times a day. But as time went on with the journey, like we just wanted to be, like, I want to go back to being transparent, is that we just wanted to be transparent. And so that, like I said, it is scary at first. And people are if it snuck up on me the way it did, I guarantee there's many, 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 many people out there that it snuck up on, and I'm just lucky enough to have the support I have. I know there's people out there that don't have support. They don't have people in their corner like I have in my corner. And we wanted to just put the story out there with the hopes that people will find hope in the story. And also there was an underlining thing there too, that I wanted to put the story out there, hoping that I can reach somebody that wanted to reach out and be a donor. I mean, we have a platform, so I wanted to be able to use the platform for positive things. I wanted to be able to use a platform, even though kidney disease is real negative and it affects me every day, but I wanted to be able to teach people that, it's not going to fully kill you if you take the right steps and don't be scared about it. Like that surgeries come with it. There's a lot of anxiety, some depression that come with it and stuff, but you have to be strong mentally, especially if you have people looking up to you. And I have a lot of people looking up to me, but the main ones are my wife and my kids, so I have to be there for them as much as I can. So I took the right steps, and we took the right steps to be labeled that kidney family, and I don't mind it at all, because this is the new normal for us. And it's going to be the new normal now until I get a transplant.
Change your perspective. Mm-hmm. If we can put it into different terms, it's like one of your labors, like Hercules, one of the 12 labors of Hercules. Yeah. You go through this trial and you'll come out stronger in the end.
Yeah, exactly. And I honestly, I'm going to just say this. If I didn't have my wife with me on this, I don't know where I would be. She's the yin to my yang. She's the one that's on top of everything. And that's something too that a lot of people don't talk about with kidney disease, is the caregiver aspect. The caregiver goes through a lot, and there's really no programs or support programs for the caregivers of kidney patients, which is unbelievable to me, but there isn't really. And that's why we were so adamant and just show people, we wanted to show people that it's just possible to live good. Oh. This is my daughter. This is my daughter, Charlie.
Hello.
Say hi.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
This is one of the reasons why we fight so hard and to stay alive, This is one of the reasons why we're such a good team, is these kids.
They have a new single out called To Stand Together, and you can find out more details about it on ascribeproduction.com. If you have any stories you'd like us to share or communities we should highlight, leave a comment on our social media or reach out to us on our website. I'm Ryan Funk. This was You Talk, and have yourself a good one.